Okay, time for another stamp along. I had such a great time stamping with you last stamp along. Thought we'd do it again. And I thought we would do it in a this is a really fast type of usage of the stamps right here. Here we have a piece of matte purple cardstock. Okay, now you can go with any kind of darker value cardstock. This one happens to be a pre-folded card type of thing. I just get these at this place called Kelly Paper. And these were on like some blowout sale right here. It's like $3 for 25 cards. You know, they don't like to keep these types of things on the shelf for longer than about a year or so. So I don't know. I always get these types of things on their clearance rack whenever I go in there, if they happen to have them at the time, which they usually do of some sort. Okay, but on this kind of darker cardstock, you can go with a medium cardstock as well. Actually, I don't even know if this is a cardstock. This is just a folding card, actually, an 80-pound cover weight. Okay, so yeah, no, not. I'm just so used to saying cardstock, but okay, on this matte paper here, the way that we're going to use it, I find that working in a really dark ink tends to work the best, okay? Dye-based inks might work on it, but I just don't think it's going to show up as much. As is, dark against a fairly dark paper, there's going to be very little contrast, so the darker ink you go with, the better. So some sort of black pigment ink. You can try other types of inks and see if they show up or not. You know, do a little test thing on the corner or something like that. But let's test out my Versafine. I don't remember using the purple before. Okay, but we're going to be using Nature's Set number 9 here. And it's kind of based around the Lakeside Cove small here. And by the way, this paper here that I'm going to be using when it's folded is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So like a quarter page scene right here. Okay. Like this, okay? But you can go for a half page like this that I'm going to be doing because I'm going to be incorporating this other side. We're just going to be using it in kind of this vertical format, but, you know, the folded card goes like that, all right? So, Lakeside Cove small. You can use the larger one, though. It'll just take up a little bit more space, of course. Okay. And I'll just center this. Right in the middle, kind of in the horizon line will be, you know, a little bit below the middle portion of the card. All right, that shows up actually excellent. Okay, I mean it is really dark on dark, so there still is, you know, very little contrast. Now in the small Lakeside Cove, I need to go for some additional impressions to carry that out to the edge of the paper, okay? Now, I do have the the rocks and reeds, which can also be used there, that come on that Nature Set, okay? And it looks like that. I could have stamped that out to the side, and that would be fine too, but I thought I would leave this one for some foreground imagery, okay? And we'll do that right now, so we'll go for 3 impressions of that. I mean, that would, you know, that took hardly any time at all. And we're almost done with our composition. We're not going to stamp everything out in this set right here. There's just not going to be room on this format right here because I want to leave a lot of room for some sky and having some fun with the other media that we're going to be using on here. So we'll use some bleed-proof white. If you don't have that, then hopefully you have like a white paint pen or a white gel pen. That would do fine too. Some people use other things like, I don't know, do people have liquid paper? You know, back in the day, people might use some liquid paper, you know, correctional fluid type of thing. Or if you have some white acrylic paint, that could potentially work as well. The bleed-proof white is just one of the really super opaque types of watercolor paints, and it's fairly thin too, so it really kind of splatters really easy. So talk about a really great effect and a super fast and easy one. It just, I can use it all the time. I just feel it makes my pieces look so much more dynamic whenever I use it. Even kind of use it in daytime types of scenes. Okay, let's see here. I don't know if I'll use this. I think this looks a little bit too distant, so I don't think I'm going to use my water lilies stamp. If I stamp this much higher, I could use maybe the water lilies down here, but I don't think I will. Let's go for a little Canoeist. I don't think he'll be, I'm going to have this as a kind of a snowy scene. But I think we need something in there, don't you think? So I'll stamp this out in black as well. The Versafine's doing great. Okay. So we have our little composition right here. I don't know. We could do this moon in here. Then I would have to color it in with the pigment ink, or you can use your pen. Well, let's do that. Let's have some fun here, okay? I don't stamp this kind of dark on dark too often, so let's just go all out. What are we at? The 6-minute mark. I want this to be a quick scene. But I mean, we're almost done with the composition here, and we're not going to be really doing like coloring with actual colors. Okay, now I've inked up my cloud with moon here, and what I'm going to do, I don't think I really need to do this, but I'm going to wipe off a little bit of the ink on the perimeter like this, okay? Just so that it will blend in with the surrounding area, or blend out into it a little bit easier. So just kind of dab it off on the edges like that, okay? You can dab it off on the top too, just so we don't get any real harsh rectangular shapes, but that would really show up a lot more if we were stamping that onto white paper, right? This black isn't very much, darker than the paper itself here, so the contrast is greatly reduced, okay? So whether or not we needed to do that, might as well. It doesn't take any time at all just to kind of, wipe off the edges. All right, so I think that looks really good. I think that blends in really good up top there. And there's our composition. All right, now let's have some fun. Most of the times when we're doing a lot of stamping, we're stamping on, cardstock. It's usually white, right? And then it gives us the opportunity to go in and add all kinds of different colors. Well, in this one right here, we've already established, a darker background in here, okay? Now we can go ahead and leave it like that, and I think that would look really great, but I'm going to leave it up to you. But I think just for the sake of kind of introducing a little bit more kind of free-form dynamics in this in a really easy way, I'll even use my old paper towel here that I used on my, I think it was on the last stamp along, that waterfall scene. I'm just going to take a paper towel like this, and I kind of wad it up. It's a little bit thicker than like my thumb here, okay? And I want it nice and smooth, okay, like that. Get it nice and firm, okay? Like about like so. And I'm going to dip it in that same pigment ink right here. I love pigment ink on matte paper. I love this kind of technique right here, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make, now that's moon's never going to get white just by adding in black on purple, okay? I think we will add some white next to that, though, when we add in some of the bleed-proof white and some of the white effects, okay? But also, I'll show you where we can also use this, and we'll take a look and see what it looks like. Like I said, I haven't done this a lot before. I think I did it on my on a Halloween scene with a little dancing skeleton, but when I use this oil-based pigment ink, which pigment ink is, it's oil-based, it almost feels like I'm just kind of wiping in like a little bit of charcoal or something like that. I guess it could feel like an oil pastel too, but, I'm just going like that. See, it's kind of a real gray tone. So don't go for don't go like this and expect, oh my gosh, I can barely see it. That's what you want. And when you do that, you have a lot of control over it. We want to use very faint applications of it, like we're applying just some kind of faint texturing over it. Think of it almost like you're applying like a powdered medium makeup or something like that, okay? You don't just go with a big slathering all of the time. You'd kind of build it up very slowly, okay? Like that. Now see, what I'm doing is I'm bringing this into the water as well. And where I like to do it is like at the base of some of my rocks. Okay, like this. You can bring in a little bit, or you can bring in a lot just by going for additional swipes like that. Okay. I think I want to bring a little bit more attention to that Canoeist because it's kind of the, I don't know if it's the focal point of the scene. It might be more of the moon there. I'd say that the Canoeist would be a little bit more of a focal point if I was doing this on a white piece of paper and I kind of spotlit it down there. But in this one, and like I said, I love going with this pigment ink on matte paper because it just blends beautifully. I mean, you can practically do anything like that, right? It's because it's just such a faint addition like that. And it goes on beautifully. Okay, but see that? Look at that variation in there now. Okay? It kind of dulled things out a little bit, but we added some shadows, and it's kind of bringing in that tone in the perimeter like that. Brings a little bit more lighting, albeit a very dim lighting into it. Now I'm going to do the same thing for up here. Let's just bring in some additional swipes, and that hopefully kind of makes it a little bit more atmospheric, don't you think? Like that, see that? So leave it real streaky, that's what you want, okay? And I think that'll make a really fantastic back of the card here. I think it just adds a little bit more dynamics than just leaving it as is, okay? All right. Now, sometimes I appreciate people that say, "Oh my gosh, you make it look so easy." I make easy techniques look easy because they're inherently easy. Okay? I'm not this isn't like a magic paper towel here or something like that. Like I said, you can go like this, you know. And I mean nothing happens. Now, if I take this and it's perfectly sopping wet and I go like that, you're going to be able to see it, but we just never do that. Okay, so you just kind of go with repetition, and it builds up as much as you want, right? Maybe that's it too. You kind of think of it more like you're building up, kind of like a dry medium or something like that, rather than thinking in terms of like adding a marker, addition to something where it's the full value of something like that. I think about things in terms of building things up slowly like this. Okay, then if I want it darker, then I just go with more strokes. Or I can have that, or I can have that, okay? So that's about it. A lot of people, though, we get what color we're getting, with a marker, or if you stamp something out and you ink it up in there and stamp it out, you get the full value of it. But what I'm doing is, with all of my media, I'm kind of getting the full value scale going from really light to really dark, and that makes it really easy for me. And then you just get a lot more mileage out of any of the inks that you already have, because you can have full black like this in the impressions, or you can have 5% gray, 10% gray, 50% gray. You know what I mean? It's on and on. It depends how many times you go like that with it. Okay, but look at this right here. See this doesn't that look like a great sky now, like this? It's kind of real atmospheric. I know it's hard to see right here because the contrast between this is really quite great. But let's have some fun now. Not that that wasn't fun, but talk about something that can give you a really quick and like instant change of I don't know, kind of textural character, I guess you can say. And that's going with some of this. Like I said, though, if you're familiar with the utilization of some other type of splatter painting technique with a medium, go ahead and use that. Like a lot of you, I'm finding have backgrounds in painting or something like that. So you might have some medium on you. You might have some gesso or something like that. Or gesso would probably be really good. What else? Acrylic, white would be good, perhaps. And then, with those different types of paint, you can't really do it with the bleed-proof white. Bleed-proof white is really opaque. Maybe if I super diluted it, I don't know, it'd be okay. But those other ones, you can control it too. Maybe you don't want it so stark white when this effect here, so you can dilute, say, like acrylics or something like that, and try it out. And maybe you'd have kind of a more translucent application of this technique right here, okay? Or you do it both. You have some opacity and translucency, so you get a little bit of a kind of a duller dot pattern on here. Or let me go this way so you can see more of the splatter. You can go with varying opacities. Okay, so I don't know. This might be, I don't know, this might stand out way too much. I don't know. But let's take a look here. It sure stands out a lot, though, doesn't it? I'm getting a real fine spray out of this one. Sometimes if I don't ink it up quite so much, or dilute it quite so much, I get larger dots because it's thicker, But this one I kind of really diluted the paint, so it's pretty small. Okay, I think that's about right. You might have seen some posts by me of Shirley scenes recently, and she splattered it with her pieces with a glue, Tsukaneko's glue, and then used like a white embossing powder on that. Not on this, not on the bleed-proof white, but on glue. But she splatters like this, and then she embosses that white, so it's coming up, so it's real dimensional. All right, so you get that. See that right there? Isn't that a great look? Okay, now, I mean, that could be the end of your scene right there. You could, and if you're doing like a full scene, if it's not a pre-folded card, you can stamp out a quote stamp up here in white ink, like a white pigment ink pad, or you can emboss something up there. It'd look really great. I'm trying to think of what I can do here. I need to get that moon a little bit lighter. I need to cut out that moon or something like that, so I can kind of dab in some pigment ink. I tell you what, before I do that though, I'm going to take my white paint pen like this and add in some additional little... I didn't shake up my pen here. If you don't shake up these pens every time you use it, the ink really separates, so I don't know, maybe that's what makes them so good. It never clogs up on me, but you really have to shake it up every time in order for that paint to really mix in there, okay? Yeah, see, that's working just fine. Okay, so I'm going to put a few little highlights on some of these rocks. I need to illuminate that moon, though, so maybe I'll do that with some pigment ink here in a second. See, on the tops of some of my rocks, it's a little bit hard to see. I can see it fine, but, this kind of dark on dark impression type of thing it's a little bit harder to see, but I'm just putting some highlights on the tops of some of these rocks. I can do it in dots, or I can do a little line like that. But this hopefully kind of gives us the impression of reflective light on those rocks in there, okay? See that? Naturally, that needs to be light now, though, so it doesn't make sense as is. Okay, and if you want just some variation in here, so you just draw a larger dot like that. So if this is snowfall, okay, it would make sense that some of those snowfall, those little snowflakes are closer to us, okay, and some are farther away. So you make some larger. If you only spray that up in the sky, then it's stars, but if you have it coming down here, it's definitely more indicative of snow, or it could be both. It could be snow and stars, okay. With a full moon, I know you don't see as many stars, but this is stamping, and I like to have the best of both worlds. I like to have have a real romantic full moon, yet I can see the stars as well, So that's what stamping is all about. It's not about necessarily trying to replicate, something that a camera can do much more effectively, just taking a snapshot. What my professor always used to say is you do things in art that you can't do, like with a camera. Or something, you don't do something that the camera can do much more effectively and, faster. You inject your own kind of, I don't know, aesthetic preferences and into your pieces. You create your own world, okay? All right, so this is just a Q-tip right here. We can see our larger and smaller dots. Doesn't that look really fun up there in terms of a textural type of statement? All right, let's see if I can get that moon kind of glowing a little bit. You can probably do some kind of hole punch or something. Or if I took the time, I could cut out that moon right there. Do I want to do that? Yeah, well, let me see how it goes like this. Let me see if I can just freehand it like this, and if it doesn't look quite up to snuff or whatever they say, then I'll do a mask and I'll just kind of illuminate that moon. Actually, this isn't looking too bad. It's not looking real light immediately, but I like being able to kind of bring it up to light little by little. I don't want big blobs of this paint, so here's the part where you really have to kind of control your application. Doesn't that look pretty good right there so far? It almost looks good like that. I don't know. I might not do the whole thing. It might look better kind of a little bit more irregularly illuminated, like the moon does sometime. It's got like that, the man on the moon, that face-looking thing. So look at that right there, okay? Maybe that's enough. If it gets too white, it'd probably be too overpowering, wouldn't it? So let me bring a little of this illumination onto some of these clouds around it, okay? If the clouds are above the moon, that means they're bottom lit, so I'll put a little bit of this pigment ink on the bottom side of the clouds, and where the moon is above the clouds, I'll top light them, okay? I mean, it's subtle here, because I think it's looking better if it's a little bit more subtle like that. Okay, looks pretty good. Yeah, isn't that fun there? Okay, what time we're at? We're at 23 minutes. I like my these little stamp-alongs to be, up to about 30 minutes or so. Being that we have time, let me show you some. This is something I was chatting with someone the other day, but I used it more in with colors, but you've seen this type of technique probably before, in terms of the torn paper technique right here, okay? And usually when I'm going with color, dark on light, I'll do my ripped paper towel this way, okay? But being that we're going dark on light, I'm going to go this way. So I'm going to be adding ink right along this. See how it looks like the top of a cloud? All right, like that. Let's take a look at that. But let's switch over to a cotton ball like this. Okay? And let's see how effective this can be, potentially, okay? So I'll just kind of match that up along one of the lower lines of the cloud down there. I mean, it really doesn't matter too much, you know? If at all, okay? Now, what I'm doing is I'm just adding just a real powdered, very light application of this pigment ink on here, okay? Right along that border. Really kind of get it even on this cotton ball here, okay? So see that right there? Look at that cloud down there, catching that moonlight. Okay, so then I'll come over here, and maybe I'll go up a little bit higher or something, or lower, or whatever you want, you know, just kind of vary it a little bit, okay? So far, I mean, we're just using really household items, right? Look at how great that paper towel did. The paper towel was used for our inking. Now we're using it for our masking. So like that, look at that row of clouds down there. Isn't that fun? Now let's just take it like this, and let's bring this up a little bit more, okay? And let's, how about add a little bit more in here? Maybe we'll just add it closer to the moon this time, and maybe we'll dissipate it out a little bit. Like that. Bring it around here on the other side. And I'll bring a little of this into it. It's kind of hard to tell, so you have to kind of take a peek and see you know, how this is affecting it once in a while like that. Look at that right there. Doesn't that look fun? I think it really added to it, didn't it? Okay, now here's my little tip to you. If you want to, I think that looks really good. I don't know if it looks like a beginning technique. I mean, it certainly is. But here's what you do. Here's the thing that kind of makes, you know, kind of separates kind of a beginning looking scene to a little bit more sophisticated one. What I'm doing here, see this? How I masked it off like that and I blotted it out like that in the sky. Now take this and flip it this way, okay? And, I mean, it doesn't have to be perfectly mirrored or anything like that. But now take some of this and work it from this way up. See, I was working it from this way down before. Now, come in here like this and add a little bit like this into here. Now look at that. It's you got that little bit of a reflection in the water. Can't see it too much. I need to go a little bit more, so let's put another one over here. Okay, like that. Maybe I'll come down here too. All right, see that little kind of, doesn't that look a little bit more sophisticated down there? Doesn't it look like a mirror of kind of what's going on up there? I don't have the moon down here, but I don't know. I just think that kind of tonation is really fun. This is just really fun stuff to do on dark paper. Let's go for another rip. It's the art of ripping, tearing. Sometimes I kind of, you know, paper towels have a little bit of a grain to them too. Okay, now see the moon is here, so I'm going to bottom light these ones. So I'm going to have these, instead of doing it like this, where they're being top lit, I'm going to flip this upside down like this. And let's go for some of this texturing up here too. And I think this will pair really well with our applications of that black pigment ink up there, okay? Something like that. All right, and just come down here. You can put it wherever you want. Now remember, I'm doing this, it's easier for me on this one because my pigment ink pad isn't so wet. So what you do is if you have a really wet pigment ink pad, you just kind of give it a little bit of dab and then dab it off first before you take it on here, okay? I mean, my pad's so dry right now. I have one in my shopping cart right now on the Joann's website. I need another pad. I really need a re-inker, but I didn't see it on there. Okay, see these little clouds sitting there forming? See how they're kind of bottom lit, you know, from that moon down there, right? Okay. Now, no one can tell me that I make ripping paper towels look so easy. Okay? Uh, don't say that. A lot of this stuff I haven't done before, so it's not like I'm gifted at tearing paper towels or something like that. This is probably like the third or fourth scene that I've ever done this with. I've done other videos, like, there was a lighthouse before in kind of darker stock, but I don't think I've done that again, like for like 2 years or something like that. But, that rip paper towel type of thing, easy stuff to do. But, all right, so let's look at this right here. I think that's about it. I mean, if you really want to. Okay, we're at the 30-minute mark. So we'll call it quits here, but see, we have these clouds that we've made ourselves here, so if you want to, you can kind of add a little bit of bit of highlight around them like this if you want to. See, this is not a stamp design right here, but see these clouds right here? I mean, there's a lot of little stars around them, but if you want to add a little bit of added texturing like this into them, I don't know, it makes for kind of a playful kind of application of light on dark by just kind of outlining some of these clouds in here, like about like so. A few little dots on it here and there. We have it down here in the water. It kind of makes it a little bit more, I don't know, maybe magical looking or something of that sort. And then, okay, this won't take long at all. I keep saying that, but this is just too much fun to not do some of these different types of effects. You just take your little Q-tip like this, and with a very blotted off version of that ink on there, you kind of make some of these stars or snowballs. Okay, it doesn't matter what they are. It's just kind of a nice textural difference in here. You just kind of make some of them glow like this. And doesn't that kind of add that little added bit of magic to it? Someone reminded me of the dark on light video that I've done before. So thank you for reminding me of that. I thought, oh yeah, I did use that. They were asking me where I got black matte paper. There's 800 videos up, at this point in time, so sometimes I'll remember, someone kind of triggers my memory. They had to kind of explain what it was, and it was like, oh yeah, that one. It's like, I need to do that again. That's a really quick and easy type of technique, and this one really is, but it's just so much fun. But anyways, okay, so see how I've illuminated some of those larger dots that I added in there. I mean, you can just illuminate anything. You can illuminate a small one in there too, but let's take a look at this right here. Look at that. I mean, that's a lot of dimension down there for, it's just these two inks right here. They're both pigment inks, okay? But I think we got a lot of richness just from the two. Well, we've used the Dr. Martens in there too, but look at that. Isn't that fun? In terms of a finished look. So any type of color scheme, if you have some dark green or something like that, wouldn't that be cool? Or red, gray would be fine. Anything, whatever you have. Just as long as you can see, enough of the impressions stamped out, okay? And even a very light an airy design like the cloud with moon, you just kind of bring it out a little bit more, okay? I mean, we almost can't even see the stamp anymore, but it certainly provided the foundation to build up these extra textures like that. So a lot of times I kind of blend things in with the use of color around it. On a moon scene, I like to do blues. You can just blend it in with white pigment ink here as well. But doesn't that just blend into the surrounding beautifully? You don't see any kind of rectangle at all. All right. So anyway, hope you had a good time stamping with me. I had a great time stamping with you. I have too much fun doing this. And always a pleasure to have you on the Stampscapes YouTube channel Stamp Along. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comment section, or if you give it a go and you like what you see, let us know how it came out. Or if you've run into any type of troubles or something like that with any of the techniques that you have down here, just drop me a note in the comment section, or you can also email us. And we'll see what happened along. You can take a photograph and send it to me too. Always interested in seeing what people do. Okay, thanks again for watching.